Hi, welcome to Bonita's Kitchen and thank you for joining us. What I'm going to be making for you today is a carrot cake with a cream cheese frosting. This is a delicious, moist carrot cake. So what I'll do is start by blending in our butter and sugar first. I'll tell you the ingredients as we go. It's not a lot of ingredients, but it's delicious once it's all put together. So let's get started. So of course we're going to start with blending our butter and sugar together. But I'm going to just tell you a couple of, I guess, the tools that you would need to make your cake. I got a spring release pan. You could use 2 round pans if you don't want to use a spring release one. And high-speed blender so you can whip up your frosting afterwards. And you can also use your blender for making this if you want to, like the blending your butter and sugar together. But I'm just going to use my spatula. So let's get started. So we're going to be using 1/2 cup of room temperature butter first, and then a cup of white sugar, or a sugar of your choice, because if you want to use organic sugar or even half and half with brown and white, that's fine. We're going to blend this together, just cream it until it's nice and creamy. Okay, so we're going to need 3 cups of grated carrots for this. It's fresh carrots. It's about 4 to 5. As you can see, I got it grated there already. So you just put it on your grater and just grate it all in. And this is 3 cups. So we're going to be adding that to the butter. Just put it all on in there, and the sugar, and a teaspoonful of vanilla. So mix this on in through. Just fold it in. So what I'm going to be using in this next is 1/2 cup of apple sauce. So you just pour that on into your mixture. And then a cup of crushed pineapples. Pour that on in. Okay, so you just fold all that in together until it's all incorporated. So I'm going to be using a mixed nuts. I'm going to be using pecans and walnuts, and we're going to be using about a cup of that, and then have about 1/2 cup of the same thing, unless you got a preferred nuts that you want to use. So just pour the full cup in here, and I got also some almonds in there because I want a mixture, but you can use whatever nut that you would like. So just blend that on in there. I'm going to be using 4 eggs, and I'm going to, I guess, separate them each time just to make sure that they're okay, and I'll blend them in one at a time. So that's our carrots, eggs, our mixed nuts. We got butter, sugar, vanilla. All of that is incorporated in there first. So I'm going to be putting 4 eggs in, and then I'll tell you what's next. So we're going to be using our last egg here now, which that will be 4 eggs into our carrot cake. So that's just lightly put in there. I'm not going to be beating that or anything until I start folding the dry ingredients. So what we would also need is a sifter, and this will sift all of the dry ingredients together. So it'll be 2 cups of flour. We're going to be using a teaspoonful of cinnamon. We're going to be putting in 1 teaspoonful of salt, 2 teaspoonfuls of baking soda, and 1 teaspoonful of baking powder. And then what we're going to do now is sift all of this down into our pan with all of our other delicious ingredients. This is a delicious cake. I can't even brag enough about it, and I can't wait until it's baked. So I hope you're following along nicely. We're going to fold this flour ingredients, or all of our dry ingredients, into our carrot cake now. So let's get started. Okay, so just fold all of this in together until it's all combined. Just like that. take all the flour mixture of any sort away from the sides, getting it all into your batter. And your batter is coming together nice like this, and this is what it would look like. Now again, you can change up the nuts that's in this recipe, but not necessarily the method. You know, keeping the same amount of ingredients for everything else. But if you only want to use pecans, that is totally fine. And if you wanted to add raisins, that's totally fine. So now let's prepare our pan. So this is coming along nicely. So what we're going to do next, I always like to put a little bit of parchment paper on the bottom of my pan, just in case it starts to just get a little too brown for me at the bottom. Some ovens are different, and if you've got a new oven, it's hard to know what it's going to do when you're baking. So again, you know, you want to make every possibility so it don't happen, so it don't burn. So what we're doing now, parchment paper, and I'm just cutting it into a round circle just to line the bottom of this pan like this. And then I'm going to be using the spring release pan, but if you've got two small round pans, you could use that, that's fine, or a pan of choice. So I'm going to lock it in like this, and it just looks something like this. So what I'm going to do next is lightly oil the pan with just a little bit of butter in now. I'm going to put it in the bottom as well so that my parchment paper would stick down there nice and won't move around. So just grease it lightly around, and then we'll pour in all of our delicious carrot cake batter. So let's just pour all of this delicious batter into our pan. And again, if you're using two pans, make sure you separate half in one and then half in the other, so they both would be equal. And just spread this around lightly, and then take your pan and shake it just a little. So just in case there's any pockets in there, pockets of air, and this would take it out and stop it and allow it to rise a little better. If you're using a spring release pan, sometimes it's known to leak at the bottom, so put it onto a tray, a cookie tray, pizza pan, and that will stop that from happening. We're going to be putting this cake in a 350 degree preheated oven, and it's going to be baking anywhere from 45 minutes to 1 hour. And then after the 45-minute time is up, check it. Just poke a little hole into it with a toothpick or, you know, a knife, and then if it looks like it don't come out clean, put your timer on again for another 15 minutes. Okay, so what we're going to be doing next now, while we're waiting for our cake to bake, is start making our cream cheese frosting. Okay, so what we're going to do now is make our delicious cream cheese frosting, and that would be a pack of cream cheese, a half a cup of butter, and we got 3 cups of, you can go 3 to 3.5 cups of powdered icing sugar, your confectionery sugar. Plus I got about half a cup of grated nuts off to the side that I'm going to make super fine, chop it down super fine to put around as a garnish on our cake. So I'm going to be using a blender for this to start this off, to get it nice and creamy. And again, it got to be room temperature for your butter and your cream cheese. So let's get that going. So what I'm doing here now is just chopping the butter and the cream cheese up together before I start blending it with my mixer, because sometimes that can get a bit fancy. So what we'll do now, we'll start the blending on the cream cheese and the butter. Okay, so what we're going to do next here now is add in a teaspoonful of vanilla, and continue mixing for another couple of seconds, and then I'm going to gradually mix in the powdered sugar, the powdered icing sugar. So you're just going to put this in sections and gradually blend it in through until it's all creamy. So really what I'm doing here now is continuing the last amount I just put in. So that would be 3 cups that I put in, but you can put in a little more if you want more frosting. So let me just blend this together and then we'll talk about what we'll do next. Okay, so I'm just going to put this blender off to the side. I'm going to use my spatula now to just scrape down any of the frosting that's gone up over. Pretty much that's what your frosting is going to look like. I mean, it's nice and creamy, and if you wanted to make more, you can double up your batches, but that's more than enough for the one cake. Luckily for us today, I had baked a carrot cake in advance, and I got it cooled down so that we don't have to wait, or I don't have to wait too long for all that to happen. So when it comes out of the oven at 350 degrees of heat, you let it cool for about 5 to 10 minutes in your pan, then you dump it out. Or if you're on the spring release, you just spring release it, and then let it cool then at room temperature. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so a big reveal of my spring release cake. This is what it looks like. Absolutely delicious and so moist. This is at room temperature there now. And what I'm going to do, because I'm not using 2 pans, I'm going to cut this one in half because I want to have frosting in the middle as well. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. So I got about 1.5 arms of some string, and this string is what I use for tying around my pudding bags, and you can also use a thread which is cotton that you would sew with. So you're going to put it like in the middle of the cake. That's if you're using the spring release, and you're going to just move it back and forth like this until it starts to cut through your cake. Okay, so you just continue cutting until you get all the ways through your cake. Now you don't have to do this. You can use your spring release pan and not have any icing in between, or you can use 2 separate pans and that would alleviate this extra work, of course. But I guess I want to show you this because if you are doing this, it'll be nice to know the method. And then your string is all the ways through, and there it is, done. So I'm using one of my cutting boards to slide in the middle of the cake and to take the cake off, and then it's going to look something like this. So what I want to do now is just put a nice layer of frosting on top here, but just look how nice and moist it is. Okay, so what I'm doing now is just spreading the frosting on the middle layer. So you just want just a nice helping, that's all, and just spread it all over and leaving the majority of it for icing the cake itself. So just put a nice level layer of frosting on the middle. So what you're going to do then is take the top part and put back on the cake like that. Basically, don't worry about if it's not fairly cut or anything because you're doing it with a string. So, and then now what we're going to do is frosting the other side. So I hope you're following along and everything is going good and you're excited about making one of these carrot cakes yourself. You just put more frosting over the top and then take a knife or spatula and spread it all the ways around like this. So after you're frosting the top, you're going to do the same with the sides. So you're just going to go down and do an even amount right around, and then you don't have to worry about it looking perfect, but you could make it look perfect if you just want to, you know, just take your time and smooth it out. Okay, so I'm almost done frosting the cake. So it's going to look something like this. Again, bear with me. If you're making it yourself, you could fancy it up, you know, make little tiny little tops on it like this just to jazz it. If you're fancy and you got you know how to decorate, you could make little carrots to go over the top. Just do an orange food coloring in this cream cheese. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be showing you that today. I'm just going to show you what it would be garnished with nuts, and it will be the I guess nuts of your choice, pecans or your walnuts or almonds. Okay, this is what it's going to look like. So what I'm going to do now is just sprinkle a little few of the mixed nuts over the top of the cake, and then just garnish it around the sides, just kind of flicking it up over the sides and putting it there until you got equal amounts all around. So you just continue doing that until you go all the ways around your cake, and it'll just look something like that. Again, if you got a fancy little pipette to do a carrot, you can do that on there, but this is my version of a delicious carrot cake. So this is what your delicious carrot cake looks like. So now I'm going to cut out a nice piece here now and show you what it looks like between, and then I'm going to have a little taste. Okay, so that's cut nicely. Now I'm going to take out this delicious piece and show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is what it looks like, and I'm going to give you a view of the middle of the cake. Now I'm going to have a nice little taste to see what it tastes like. Okay, so now I'm going to have a nice little taste of this carrot cake. So moist, all of those flavors, and you can taste the nuts and the cream cheese. Totally delicious. That was delicious, and the tea was equally delicious. So this is how quick and easy and simple it is to make your own delicious carrot cake with a cream cheese frosting. So if you want to see more delicious and quick and easy recipes like this, don't forget to subscribe to Bonita's Kitchen, and up at the top right hand corner on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and it will prompt you to what you need to do. And also visit me on www.bonitaskitchen.com. You can also visit me on my Facebook page and send me a tweet on Twitter. And this would be a delicious recipe, and one of over 145 that we got on there right now for you to view. So thank you once again for joining us here on Bonita's Kitchen. From my kitchen to yours, you have a wonderful day.